This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And we listen to your feedback. And
we got the memo.
Ricky's off the podcast. That's it. He's done. Goodbye, Ricky. Bye-bye. Adios.
His hot takes were too much to handle.
His hot takes were too hot. They burned him. They burned him alive. Actually, he's doing the fantasy football live stream right now, the fantasy draft. That you can probably watch right now on our YouTube if you put it up. But he'll be back next week to much of your chagrin. But we are glad to have Ricky on this podcast and back. And before we jump into the rankings of the starting centers for the 2018-2019 season, we will go into our housekeeping. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. Ricky and Dave just did an awesome Patreon segment with Z. Unfortunately, I've been missing Z's Patreon segments for the past
I don't know what's up with that.
2 months. Well, I was in
you and your job.
Nashville.
Oh, that's true.
The previous month, and then I was at my job yesterday.
Yeah.
So shout out to Z. Love you, buddy. And also you can be a patron if you check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. You can be at that $10 tier, or you can check out the weird Patreon podcast that Ricky and Dave did in August, because I heard it's fucking weird.
It is.
It's for September, or is it for August?
It's August.
Okay, cool.
We got to record September now.
Well, we'll do September. And then also check out mostvaluablepodcast.com so you don't miss any segments or full podcasts or articles. Also on that website, you can check out the shop where you can buy MVP t-shirts. And finally, please rate us 5 stars on iTunes. I think we are at like 30 or so 37 or so right now.
Pretty good.
Like a 4.5 star rating. Head over there and get us to 40. We'd appreciate hitting that 40 mark.
Absolutely.
It'd be awesome. But Dave, let's jump into our rankings. If you're new here, we're going to go 30 through 21, then 20 through 11, and then 10 through 1 if you're new here. But let's jump in. At 30, we have JaVale McGee, now of the Los Angeles Lakers. At 29, we have Cody Zeller of the Charlotte Hornets. At 28, we have Marcin Gortat, now of the Los Angeles Clippers, because DeAndre Jordan is gone, and he was traded for the coach's son. Then at 27, we have Tristan Thompson, still of the Cleveland Cavaliers. At 26, we have Dwayne Dedmon of the Atlanta Hawks. At 25, we have Brook Lopez of the now Milwaukee Bucks. I was going to say Brooklyn Nets, but that was years ago. At 24, we have Willie Cauley-Stein of the Sacramento Kings. At 23, we have Jared Allen of the Brooklyn Nets. At 22, we have Jonas Valanciunas of the Toronto Raptors. And finally, at 21, this one might be controversial because it probably won't be the starting center, but it's more fun to talk about him than Robin Lopez. It's Wendell Carter Jr. at 21. And Dave, let's start off there. Probably the most fun player to talk about, probably the only one we actually want to talk about, Wendell Carter Jr. at 21. Is it too high for a guy that might not even be starting?
Yeah, but at the same time... I look at him, and it's, what do you think he can do? And he put up a monster summer league. Like, he looked by far like the best center in that draft class, which is saying a lot considering, there's another center who we haven't mentioned yet who's clearly above him, so who went above him in the draft as well. I don't know. I think that he is a unique kid, and I think that we're going to see a lot out of him. I think it's going to be a very quick turn between Robin Lopez and he at the starting center role, but they're both going to play about the same minutes regardless. So I figure let's go for the guy who actually has all this upside. Robin Lopez might be in a trade discussion, soon into the season. He also hates mascots. Yeah. That's about his only upside. Is he gets in fights with mascots everywhere we go.
That's the thing is with most of these centers is they're just boring. Like Jonas, we were talking about this earlier. Like Jonas Valanciunas and Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic is in the next segment. But we were like, what's the difference between them? Because they're like the same player. We look at Willie Cauley-Stein, and Willie Cauley-Stein's been the same player since he was like his rookie year. Like he hasn't gotten extremely better.
I wanted him to, but he's not.
Last year he was 25. He's 24 now. There's no difference between Willie Cauley-Stein. We look at Jared Allen, and Jared Allen, there's potential there, but also he's just kind of very like, Willie Cauley-Stein. Might be a better rim protector later on, but I feel like Jared Allen is just going to turn into guys above him like, Hassan Whiteside. And like Hassan Whiteside isn't even that much higher. Like
none
of these centers are like sexy at all.
Are you telling me Cody Zeller doesn't just just ooze sex appeal to you?
With Wendell Carter Jr., though, you have someone who can do multiple things.
Yeah.
He's not only just a guy that can be a rim protector. He can be a guy that can step out and guard fives that stretch the floor.
He can guard fours that stretch the floor. He can guard no, not threes,
but he's a guy that's versatile defensively, where most of these guys really aren't. They're just rim protectors.
True.
You look at him as a rebounder. He's going to be as good as a rebounder, most likely, as any of these other guys. And you look at the offensive end, he's probably a better passer than all the guys below us, maybe Valanciunas and Brook Lopez. But outside of that, and Gortat, too, because Gortat's a pretty good passer still.
Gortat was decent, but he was heavy system in that pick and roll with John Wall. So I don't know without John Wall what he's going to be able to do.
But Wendell Carter Jr., he's probably the best passer in 21 through 30. And you look at three-point shooting, he's probably also the best three-point shooter.
Brook Lopez.
Maybe Brook Lopez.
Yeah.
I was going to say that, but even
Don't
then, it's
take that
like
away.
1.5 made on 4.4 attempts, where it's like 34%.
Yeah.
And honestly, Wendell Carter might be able to surpass that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people are going to guard him like too crazily outside.
No, I mean, we've got other threats. Thankfully, like our team is just full of shooters now.
So he might end up being the best three-point shooter on this list. That's why he's that high. And it's not too crazy when we rationalize it. It's just crazy because he might not be the starter.
Yeah.
And I think it might also be crazy not to start him. Because, yes, Robin Lopez is there, and you want to get as much trade value for him.
Yeah.
But, again, you can get a lot of guys like Robin Lopez, where Wendell Carter Jr.'s max potential, again, the max potential they could possibly hit, is a guy that's in the top 10 in Al Horford.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. That was a comparison coming into the NBA draft. I'm glad you mentioned his name because I attached heavily to that. I'm like, as soon as we were talking draft talk, we looked at his skill set, we saw what he was able to do in college, covering up for a certain player he had to play next to who may a bit more of the shine, a bit more of the spotlight on a Marvin Bagley, but at the same time you look at what he could do on his own and the flow of the game defensively, what he could make up for, like there's nothing to really hate on him for. Like I only see upside. Yes, his game's not perfect, he's super young, he will get better, but like there's so many things to love about him coming into the league that I think we actually nailed it. I think 21 is the right spot for him. I believe in that.
And even then, I think you could even possibly make the case that he's better than, possibly Hassan Whiteside.
I mean, also, I did rank him at 21 just to...
Did you?
Yeah.
Congrats, Dave. I put him at 20. We were all very... I put
right
him
in
at 20.
the same pack.
You put him at 21.
Because that's the thing. Like, you look
Ricky
at...
put him at 22.
Yeah, you mentioned the center position, and like... Same with every position. You've got your guys who are like just starter roster slot. They're starters, but they're not anything special. And at center, it really is. It's crunched together further at the bottom of the barrel because they don't do a ton to distinguish themselves. Like I look at the guys you mentioned. You're a rim protector. You're a rebounder. What else can you do for me? Those are the only we see a lot of that. JV is the guy right behind him who I think that it might be a slight to him, but at the same time, like. He has never gotten the chance to be like a spotlight in the offense. Like we're hoping Nick Nurse will be able to get some more time out of him. Definitely give him more time on the court to show what he can do because he's had good stretches. I just feel like the offense was never, and I get it. You don't build an offense for your center at this point in the NBA, but you never gave him a chance to succeed really. He was in there for short minutes. He was able to score. He was able to rebound, but he was always being switched out on, mostly because of the defensive end. But he's a decently good offensive player, and that's I just kind of look at that. I'm like, there's a chance he jumps this year.
But you're 100% right though about his usage in that offense because you look since 2013 to 2014, 8.3 field goal attempts per games, 8.2, 8.9, 8.8, 8.9. He's not ever. He's barely increasing his shot attempts per game, and for the past 3 years, it's been exactly the same per game. Like he's not getting a huge front of the offense, and I don't think it's really going to change because you're adding Kawhi Leonard, who probably deserves more of the ball in his hands. Kyle Lowry is, kind of fading offensively.
He's transitioning. I wouldn't say fading. I'd say transitioning into more of a traditional point.
Transitioning and fading from a front role to more of a back role. But even then, like Danny Green, I think OG Anunoby is going to get a step up as well. Serge Ibaka on that second unit might even get more of a shine than a Valanciunas is because still Valanciunas is like that fourth option in that offense. Now with, Kawhi, Kyle Lowry, OG who we put in there, and Danny Green. Like maybe I put him over Danny Green because he can do a little bit more, especially adding his 3-point shot that he did last year.
He can win some mismatches down low too. Still, like he's not super soft in the paint. So yeah, I think he's just in a weird spot where with the Raptors, I don't know, usage wise, if we'll see that increase or if we'll see the steady 8-point something, shots a game. And decent numbers and limited minutes because, like you said, Serge Ibaka is going to demand some playing time. I know we talked about him potentially being a 6-man or a center actually going into the season potentially, depending on if they want to go with a smaller lineup that's a little bit quicker on the court.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you look at the center position, and there's a huge difference between what these guys can do. You have your superstars in here. You have your Anthony Davises. You have your Joel Embiids. You have your Nikola Jokic's, DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gobert.
They all do something different.
Yeah, you have your stars in this lineup or whatever. But then you look at the guys below, like Wendell Carter, like Valanciunas, Allen, Stein, Lopez, Dedmon, Thompson, Gortat, Zeller, McGee. I don't think there's much differentiating them because, Valanciunas, like you mentioned, he's good offensively, but he's not great defensively at all. And you look at Willie Cauley-Stein. He's just a guy that's extremely athletic, but really hasn't been able to put that towards a basketball aspect. And that's even because he's not really worked into the offense that much. And the Kings aren't good defensively.
The Kings are the Kings, so like you don't.
Well, it's tough to be a great rim protector when the defense is terrible around you.
Yeah, no, that's true. He's good in fast break situations because of that athleticism. He can keep up on the fast breaks. But again, like he's a guy who, potentially. He's holding down the fort right now in the position, but he could lose the role. I mean, we're all Kings fans, I think, are expecting a lot out of Harry Giles, who could potentially be a center for them. Marvin Bagley taking the 4, Scale bouncing between 2. Like they've got options. I think they've got like 3 centers, to be honest.
And you look at Scale too. I mean, Scale's gotten jacked now. So I mean, you have 3 young guys. Also, Papagiannis was supposed to be their future center, and he gone. But you look at, again, Giles, Scale, and Bagley, Cauley-Stein's light's fading. And really the only reason we have him in there...
And the contract is coming up too.
Yeah, and the only reason we have him in there is because he's really the only veteran presence they have in that lineup, weirdly enough. Because you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Buddy Hield, you have Bogdanovich, and then you have Bagley. He's the most tenured, I think, Kings player on the roster.
And the sad thing is he really shined coming off that Boogie trade. Like he looked ready to take the role and be the lead on that offense, and he was popping off right after the trade. I think he had like the 2 weeks after the trade, he was putting up like 21 and 11 or something stupid. Like he was having monster games. It's like, we don't even need Boogie. What are you talking about? What? He's our boy. And then it's just like, no, he came back down to reality. But, is the question, can he do more for you, or is he going to be worth a contract next year? I don't know. That's why he's in this situation. Like Jared Allen is a young kid, and I think that he absolutely can jump out of this group because what we can see out of him, I think he can do obviously the rim protector role very well. He can rebound well. But I think the thing with him is I think his shot's going to keep getting a little further. I think offensively he'll get there. I think he's got good enough foot speed to guard guys out on the perimeter. So I'm a little higher on the Nets, though, than most people are, like as a whole. So that might be swaying my opinion on Jared Allen.
But with Allen, I was big on him, too, when he was coming out of the draft. And I saw enough out of him so far. But he's still a guy that needs a lot of work.
He needs playing time, period, right now, too.
I also think he still needs work. Like, there still needs to be a lot of tweaking to get him to a position where, I'm going to be locked in as him as my center of the future.
Right.
I mean, even then, I don't know what that ceiling is. I don't think he's a top 10 guy. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be touching our top 10 rankings. Could he be, 15? Yeah, for sure. I think he can be a guy that, can be a good rim protector, can be good in switches from time to time, and he could do enough offensively and be a good rebounder. But you look at guys like, Andre Drummond, if they're good rebounders and good rim protectors, they still don't even get enough to even get in the top 10 every now and then.
Spoilers.
I don't even. He might have gotten in the top 10. But like last year, Drummond wasn't in the top 10.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to where like you need to be able to be that next level player. True. And I don't think Allen has that ability to be that next level player because he's really thin right now. He's still not really a jacked guy. And even with that, he's not that next level athlete that you see in a guy like Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid. I mean, Jokic isn't really a next-level athlete.
He's literally the opposite. The man's like eating McDonald's and drinking cola all day.
But he's just got something special to him where these guys, and not to be dicks about it, they don't really have that much special to them.
No, and I think it's weird because we talk about baseball is always, the 5-tool player. And I think no position in basketball demands a variety of tools than center. Like, I feel like in order to stand out, you have to bring something special to the game. And like you said, mentioning, the passing ability of someone like Jokic to be a floor general at the center position, truly unique. the dominance of Rudy Gobert's defense, where it's above and beyond a rim protector, where the impact is seen team-wide, and they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. Like, these guys are, we talked about the 3 younger ones in the or the 4 younger guys in the section, but you look at a Brook Lopez, a guy who has dropped off from his Nets days. Last year, obviously a disappointing year. Actually, he basically lost his role to a small ball 5 in Julius Randle, who did great, but Brook Lopez is out there to stand far away from the net because he can't rebound anyway, and take some shots every once in a while because he's a good shooter, but his foot speed's awful. He can't go anywhere on a pick and roll. He can't defend that. Dwayne Dedmon's a guy who, I feel like he's just statically, he's not good, but he's not bad. I want to say average, but he's clearly below average in our starting ranking. So I don't know. I think, yes, he is adding a 3-point shot, which is interesting, but I haven't seen enough of him to move him up yet.
Dedmon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I know he was on the Spurs, and people loved him coming out of that Spurs thing, but again, I haven't seen
He's on the Hawks, so it's
him.
Just shitty. Yeah.
Well, and again, he's one of those guys that it kind of fits into that whole role of, to be a standout rim protector, your defense needs to be decent, or you need to change that defense.
Yep.
You look at DeAndre Jordan back in the Clippers, he stood out because he was on a great defensive team, and he was allowed to be just a rim protector.
He had a defensive rating of 98 for 3 years in a row with them. That was insane.
You look at Whiteside. Whiteside was the same thing. He was allowed to get 4 blocks a game because that's all he was. That was his job. Stand in the middle and block shots, big guy.
Yeah.
Where Dwayne Dedmon, again, there isn't that defensive culture there.
No.
To allow him to be just a rim protector, and even then, I don't know if he has that ability to be a next level rim protector.
True.
We haven't seen enough out of these guys, or we've seen enough out of them where it's all right, we know what we got.
Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, Tristan Thompson. Guy.
Just moving on down. That's the guy we've seen enough out of.
Even Brook. Brook's a thing where we saw his peak. He's done. Let's see if you can reinvent yourself to move up a little like a Paul Gasol did.
Yeah.
But even then, Paul Gasol is one of the greatest probably centers of my lifetime, at least over the past 20 years. He's been a phenomenal player throughout, since 2003, where Brook Lopez hasn't been on a great team, hasn't really had that shine of playing next to another superstar, and has really suffered from that.
It's true.
Even Cody Zeller. What does Cody Zeller stand out doing? What does Marcin Gortat stand out doing besides, butting heads with John Wall over the past 2 years?
He was one of the best pick and roll scorers, to be fair.
Last year?
I think it might have been 2 years ago.
Yeah, he was.
That was the year that their offense was they had the best 5 starting offense in the entire NBA.
But that really popped off when Beal was injured, and then they didn't have that second go-to scorer in a Bradley Beal that Otto Porter wasn't the same Otto Porter.
Right.
Really it was
Gortat and Wall were just doing business.
Yeah. So and
he's a dub machine though, and we got him pretty low. I feel a little bad about that.
What does double doubles mean anymore with centers?
No, we're having that conversation.
Well, no, but it's do double doubles define how good a rebounder you are?
I was waiting for this conversation, but I thought it was going to happen when we got to.
We'll get to the guy you're talking about.
Okay.
But it's when you were taking in these rankings, did it matter the rebound percentages for these guys unless it was something crazy stupid like an Andre Drummond?
Yeah, I think it's very system centered because certain centers are closer to net than others. Just that's where they play in their offense or defense. That's what they're asked to do. And a guy like Marcin Gortat, I think, was in a great position on a great team, and that really highlighted his skill set. Moving over to the Clippers, I've got lower expectations. I don't think that he has anywhere close to the same level of point guard. I know he doesn't have the same close level of point guard play. The surrounding players aren't as good, and their highest guy is Tobias Harris. And how is he going to benefit enough from playing off ball from Tobias Harris? Can that do anything fruitful for him? And I don't see the same benefit as playing, on a team like the Wizards, where he was able to obviously have some level of success.
And even then with Gortat too, you look at his actual double-double numbers. He only had 15 double-doubles on the year.
That's it?
Yeah. He was tied with Dwayne Dedmon and Domantas Sabonis.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. And above him was Valanciunas, Nurkic, Marc Gasol and Paul Gasol. Below him was Alex Len with 12.
Yikes.
Where is Alex Len playing, by the way? Does it matter?
I don't even know. Right?
Do we care?
No, not really. But.
Okay. But it's and Willie Cauley-Stein was at 12 too.
He's on the Hawks now, apparently.
Who cares?
Wow.
But it's you really look past guys probably Valanciunas at 26 double doubles. Marc Gasol at 25. So outside of Marc Gasol getting 25, Pau Gasol getting 16, Sabonis getting 15 in like limited minutes, Dedmon getting 15 in 62 games. Like none of that really is eye popping, but and I really didn't take in the rebound numbers that these guys had because it really didn't matter unless you were actually dominating the game, rebounding with how much the game has changed for centers.
I was gonna say, you brought up, do these numbers matter? Like, is the primary job of a center still to just solely soak up rebounds and block shots? Is that like at the base level when you want a center in the NBA? Are you just looking for a guy who can block shots around the rim and get the ball after it bounces off of the rim or the backboard?
Not really, because we look at I've been a whole proponent of throughout this ranking system that Dwight Howard has been consistently overrated, and that's basically all he's done. He's not running pick and rolls. He's not doing that yet. He consistently gets love because of his numbers and because of his name recognition. But you look at what he does consistently, it probably lines up to a guy like a Steven Adams. And I know Adams is flipped, but that's also defensively because he's gotten better. And is better than Dwight Howard. But you look at the numbers, and I don't think the numbers really tell the story of how much impact these guys have. I think a lot of it really goes on team success as well, because you look at outside of Valanciunas, Nets didn't make the playoffs.
Nope.
Kings didn't make the playoffs.
Nope.
Brook Lopez's Lakers didn't make the playoffs. Dwayne Dedmon's Hawks didn't make the playoffs. Tristan Thompson almost held the Cavs back from making the playoffs.
Like his contract and then play performance throughout the year. It's weird that he actually came back on for the playoffs a little bit, but the regular season play was just so terrible.
And even then, him coming on was grabbing 11 boards, which is that should be your average. And then you look at Gortat. Gortat's team made the playoffs, but barely made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Zeller's team didn't make the playoffs. McGee's made the playoffs, won the finals, but also, let's be honest, he wasn't even the starting center, and I think you were absolutely shocked in game 3 of the finals when they were like, all right, we have no options at center, let's put McGee in there, and he got 8 straight points. We're like, holy shit, McGee's back.
And now he's out there to dominate for the Lakers.
And now he's with LeBron.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot of their rankings, I feel ended up relying on their team success or name recognition because, again, these guys do so much, or it's so much similar, that you need to have something that really separates you. And being on a team that did really well, and really you saw that boost because of it, a la Rudy Gobert, when Gobert was out and then Gobert on, that team was drastically different defensively. You could see the reason why. Where, if you take out a Brook Lopez out of the Lakers, that team didn't change too much. That team still lost. That team didn't have that much of a change. And I brought up war in football too.
Yeah.
And you look at if you had the war of these guys from Allen to McGee, it'd probably be 0 because there's no really difference to tell how much better they are from other players. Are there potential in these players? Yes. That's why Jared Allen is the highest ranked out of this below Valanciunas, and Cauley-Stein second. Because outside of that, none of these guys really have potential.
They're all over the age, yeah.
So, in the end, 21 through 30, I think we could probably say is the weakest bunch of players that we've had throughout these rankings so far.
Yeah, it's weird to think about that. But yeah, I feel like every year we kind of come to the same conclusion. It's the center position has been devalued by where we're at with the modern NBA.
But do you think it's devalued, or do you think it's changing? Because now I think it possibly could be. It possibly could be something where it might be one of the more valued ones if you are a guy that can do certain things. We just saw a center go number 1 this year.
I think it has changed, but I still believe it's been devalued over time. I know a center makes a massive impact, but until we see a team led by a center, compete for a championship year in, year out. The last one we saw was Shaq.
Tim Duncan?
Tim Duncan was a power forward. You take that back.
Okay. I know. Sorry.
I'm just saying. He was the greatest power forward of all time.
I'm sorry. I was throwing out. He played center.
He did play the center position because he was a little slower later on, but still, he's power forward.
Okay. Then, sorry, Dave. I'm trying to. Dwight Howard made it to the finals. He didn't win it. That was the last team probably to make it that was carried by a center.
That's true. That's true. The Magic.
Am I cool with that?
I'll give you that one. I will give you the Magic because I'll give you the Magic.
Okay. So
I didn't think Jameer Nelson carried the team. Sorry.
it's been 8 years. That was the point.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I was just trying to get to.
But all of those,
maybe this is the darkest of the days for the centers, but also I think the light is on the horizon.
Yeah.
Because you look at these top guys, and then also the last number one pick.
The last number one pick, even though Wendell Carter, we're talking about guys who bring more to the center position. You're right. I think it's evolving. I think what we need out of a center today is not what we needed 10 years ago. You can't just get a tall guy who can stick his hand up anymore. That doesn't count for anything. It doesn't count for enough anymore.
But even, like, I wasn't around back when centers were important. Like,
I caught the end of the 90s, or I should say I caught from mid-90s on. So I got the second half of Jordan's three-peat, and then I got basically the death of the physical NBA.
Like, the thing that, do you think it was rule changes that killed the center, or do you think it was just people learning more about basketball? And exploiting their size?
It's both, but it happened first. It was rule changes because the level of physicality dipped off considerably. Mm-hmm. You just can't hit people like you could before. You can't bounce off them down low. You can't back your way in by dropping your shoulder and your back into them. Like, there's just certain techniques that can't be done. That's why it was interesting how much people valued center, like the center position and offensive centers who could be smooth around the net. And then, like you said, as the NBA has changed and they found different ways to win games, different ways to dominate, guys like Shaq are the exception to the rule. They're not the rule. Someone who is as physically dominant as him would succeed at any point in time in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I mean, but these other guys who are seen succeed now, like, I don't know if a player like Jokic would be given the same chance even, 20 years ago. I can't say that for sure. Yeah, tall guys, of course, are always going to get a shot, but, like, you don't see that. Like, I mean, you go way back to, like, Manute Ball. It's like, yeah, he was a center who could jack up shots from the outside, and that was an oddity at the time. And it was just the most bizarre thing. I know he wasn't amazing, but, like, he was an interesting player because he was the first big man we saw do that as his main role. And now we're seeing the NBA where now we want 7-footers to shoot from the outside consistently and be a threat. And, like, I think it's evolved, but I think the first part of it evolving was the fact that we just couldn't be as physical down low. You can't have enforcers really anymore. The big enforcer in the NBA today is what, like Draymond Green, Mm-hmm. So
the one thing that I was just doing was counting how many centers have gone number one, or forward centers have gone number one.
Yeah.
35 number one overall picks have been centers. And there's been 71 picks, so that means 49% of number one overall
That's
picks
incredible.
were centers. So, I mean, like, and even you look, recently, like, Ayton was a center, Karl-Anthony Towns, you look at Anthony Davis, who's on this list, and then there was
all three of those guys
Greg
are
Oden
arguably
well.
power forwards.
Yeah, but the game's changed.
No, I mean, Ayton's not.
Now you're trying to speed up the center position.
True.
And people are learning. So that was the point. But anyways, that's going to end the discussion on centers. It wasn't really about 21 through 30.
Oh, we hit the guys in there, but it's more about the situation kind of evolving, how some of these guys are, the future hope maybe, that they could continue to evolve and get better, and the others are just kind of like the remnants or the dinosaurs, man.
Shout out Wendell Carter Jr. He's that dude.